Okay, we are back to talk about Sugar, episode 6, titled Go Home, written by Donald Joe and Sam Caitlin, directed by Fernando Moraes. After Davy tried to take his own life at the end of episode 5, Bernie and Marguerite learn that he has significant brain trauma and will never recover. Bernie goes to Jonathan, his ailing father, confesses that they are going to let Davy die and actually breaks down in front of him at the thought that he just tried to make Davy happy his whole life instead of actually teaching him the things that he needed to learn. Meanwhile, back in the main plot with John Sugar, Charlie, Sugar's partner, is stalking Stallings so she can alert Sugar to when he comes home. Eventually, Stallings does return back home, declaring that there's been a change of plans to his crew because he's been tipped off that Sugar is coming his way. Sugar shows up, mysteriously calms Stallings' dogs, enters the house, and then after sort of falling for a trap, he's captured by Stallings' men. They are going to kill him, but Sugar's able to fight them off, displaying some interesting abilities. Kills two of the thugs and interrogates Stallings, learning that Ruby tipped him off that Sugar was coming. Meanwhile, while this is going on, Charlie was attacked and captured, and Sugar cannot locate where she is. Badly injured Sugar makes his way to Melanie, and he asks her to call Henry, one of the other polyglot members, to help fix him because he just cannot go to a hospital. Henry fixes him up, tells her he has to stay put, and he can't go to a hospital. While recovering, Sugar still finds a way to get out, confront Ruby about her betrayal. But Ruby will not give up any information, doesn't know anything about Charlie, and implores him to stop looking for Olivia. Back at his room, Sugar is still struggling physically, decides to, quote, take a break for one night, injects himself with something, and that something turns him into what looks like a blue alien. Cut to
Indeed.
black. Here we have the big twist. I can only presume. I presume there's not another big twist bigger than this coming.
This
So we've
is
been speculating on this for a while. We finally have it. What does this mean? Is Sugar an alien? Is he something else? Is he a Navi from Avatar? We don't know. What are we dealing with here, and where do we start?
I went with Cree, right? But
Yeah,
it's
either, all the
one
above.
of those things. So I know some Marvel things. I know
You do. We'll put you on the list. Yeah.
um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe let's start with just I don't know how this land for you. I've seen some people out in the wild complaining about it, and I have my feelings about it. How do you feel
Yeah,
about it?
so it, I think that it was somewhat subdued for me. We talk about this every single week. In many ways, I wish there had been no advanced knowledge of this. I would like to have known my real reaction when I would not have thought that a big twist was coming. Like I'm gearing up for it ever since episode 5 started. Like, when is this going to be revealed? And
Yeah.
so since it was, and since we actually thought, well, this is going to be something actually crazy out of left field, and it ended up being that, I don't know, kind of like thought, yeah, that's what we thought. Whereas I imagine if I had no concept of this going into it, I would have felt like, wow, what in the world are we doing here? We went from a black and white noir sort of homage crime drama into extraterrestrial, presumably. And man, we had just gone all over the place with genre. So I feel like my impression of it is not as authentic as it would have been if I didn't know this was coming.
Yeah, I found myself wondering that too, in a way. How would I have reacted if I hadn't been hearing things, talking to you, playing with theories, making
Hmm.
werewolf jokes? I mean, even to the level of I started wondering, if I'd just been watching the show completely on my own, how much would I have been wondering about this mystery of who John Sugar is?
Yes.
Some, because like the show seeds at some. There's some question of like he's got a secret they can't find out about and all of that. But um I don't know if completely left to my own devices, any part of my brain would be like, maybe he's an alien.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I would have jumped there without some input from the world.
And they
Um
sort of tipped their hand with the dogs, with him looks like slapping away a bullet that's shot at him, that something is coming that's that's extra human outside of sort of human understanding. but yeah, that it's fact that this is presumably some kind of alien is what he is yes, tough to contemplate with the rest of it.
Yeah, by the time you get to this episode, it's meaningfully there before the reveal. There's
Yeah.
foreshadowing, and I did appreciate how they did this and how kind of subtle the
Hmm.
reveal was, how quiet
Hmm.
it was. Him um going into the bathroom, you have the voiceover, can I take a break just for one night?
Yeah.
Go home. He's injecting himself with something, whatever that is. We'll have to talk about this sort of thing, but just the style of the presentation, the slow kind of transformation, and then the way the song hits, which this is Go Home by Angel Olsen. Were you familiar with the song before this? I wasn't really.
I was not. I had to look it up. YouTube comments are coming in on it about the show. The lyrics I've sort of digested since then. So no, I was not familiar with this song before this.
I think it's a good song.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was like, pull it up, listen to it. I was reading that she wrote it during the pandemic lockdown in 2020, and it's a relatively recent song. Um, I don't have the lyrics all out, but they're relatively straightforward to hear and make
Yeah.
connections thematically with the show. Like nobody knows me and all that kind of
I
stuff.
want to go home, go back to small things. I don't belong here. Nobody knows me. How can I go on? I mean, yeah, it's pretty nail on the
Yeah,
head.
so it fits, and throughout Sugar's been worried about is LA corrupting him and all of
Yeah.
that. And, okay, we get a little bit more depth to that. So I think how they did it, I appreciated. I enjoyed.
Yeah.
The fact that I did see something coming may have helped. Because like maybe with what we were talking about before, if I had no idea this was coming, maybe I would have been like, what the
Yeah.
what they do to my noir show.
I,
Um,
I'm glad you're saying this because I had not thought about it this way. The idea that we're able to see it from a different perspective because we anticipated something. As you mentioned, he doesn't go into the phone booth and rip off, come out with a Superman costume. He doesn't Hulk out, as it were, in the midst of the battle or something with the thugs. This is a very subdued reveal combined with the fact that we thought something was coming. You can see it for sort of the production that it was, which is a very unique way of disclosing something like this.
yeah. And he does slap a bullet out of
Yes,
the air.
it's right.
I got a screenshot
I
of the
did see
bullet
that in your piece, yeah.
in the midair. It's like, wait, did he just slap a bullet out of the air? Yes, he did. And then there's also when Henry's treating him, he's got a bag of like alien blood.
Yeah,
So like
yeah.
if you're watching, if you're paying attention really to what's on your screen, like, what's that? You know what I mean? So it's already a little bit earlier. You're like, well, yeah, okay, I see where this is going, and so it wasn't exactly surprising by the time you get there if you
Yeah.
were attending to
Okay,
the
so but here's
show.
the question. Okay, so what? So what's next, or what does this mean, or what are these? Presumably, he's one of several as part of this polyglot society. So what are they doing?
Yeah, I mean, I immediately presume that Henry is also an alien.
Hmm. Yep.
Ruby, probably, but maybe not.
Yeah, it's like, is Ruby an alien? Is she a handler? Is she just what is she?
Yeah, she could be like a human handler,
Yeah.
you know. Um, that guy Miller, yeah, he's an alien. I mean, like, I don't know. We're checking boxes. We don't have many others. Jen, Sugar's sister.
Jen?
Okay,
Dr.
now I'm thinking Jen is an alien. Maybe Jen never even made it to Earth.
That may be it. Dr.
Um,
Vickers, perhaps?
oh yeah, or again, human handler is a
Yep. Yep.
possibility in some way. This is what worries me a little bit is thinking about this question of how much of a radical plot shift is about to happen to all right, who are these aliens, what are they doing, why
Right.
is why is someone like John Sugar also a private investigator and so on? How does that fit in with their overall plan? Um, I don't know.
I
Right.
think that they revealing it here and now, think about it, I guess just logically, they had to because now they have to take a whole episode or a large chunk of a whole episode and explain what the world's going on and what is the background here, what is the story. If they don't do that, well, that's a major disservice to people that have been committing themselves to this show. And they still have to solve some level of mystery. Now we have, where is Olivia? Is she okay? Where's Charlie? What's the deal with Ruby? Does he confront them? So there's still things left hanging beyond just now he's an alien.
And the Olivia thing, I was thinking about this at some length, writing my recap and all of that. And I don't know that I have a good line on it, but so in this episode, he confronts Stallings, he ultimately kills Stallings.
Hmm.
We basically know that Stallings took Olivia or whatever,
Yep.
right? Probably took her. I increasingly get the feeling that she is somewhere because even though Stallings is dead and all of that, Ruby wants John to stop looking for Olivia. Why? Right?
Yeah.
Like I've been. Go ahead.
No, I just say that's I think now the fundamental question that's left, other than what in the world is sugar, because yes, we understand the what happened, but the why and where is she? We don't see any of these other women that were part of this van that Stallings sort of found and trafficked off somewhere else. So presumably he's sent her off somewhere, but the why and the I guess the resolution to that question, yeah, is really a big one dangling out there.
Yeah, what does the one have to do with the other? So I guess I had been thinking that Miller, Vickers, Ruby wanted to keep Sugar from finding Stallings because they didn't want Sugar to know that they're like in business with Stallings.
Hmm.
Because Stallings is like an evil person.
Yep.
Now it seems like no, they must be involved in what happened to Olivia in some way.
They would almost have to be. I mean, and I remember saying this last week, still don't exactly know what that way would be, but
I'm
it's not
worried.
like this is a group of people that's trying to hunt down and get rid of people like Stallings. No, they're in bed with him for some reason, some way, and has to. Olivia's tied it up in it. I just don't know how at this point.
I'm worried about this making sufficient sense when we get there.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I have to withhold judgment and see what they do. But already I'm thinking, it's like, okay, well, yes, fair enough. From the very beginning, Ruby has tried to discourage Sugar from taking this case and looking for Olivia.
Hmm.
But even though you have that scene where Miller tells her by any means necessary or whatever, however he puts it, it's been more like, hey, buddy, I don't think you should do this.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it hasn't been really, pulling out the stops to keep them from doing it, which if they actually are behind what happened to Olivia, if the connection is that direct, I don't know. It starts training plausibility a little bit for me that they would have even allowed him to kind of go this far.
Yeah. To even take a case like this to not intervene in some way if there's some sort of organization or group that can do that. Yeah, why let him go in this way in the first place?
I did think it was interesting thinking about Ruby and thinking back to the start here when he tells her he's going to take this Olivia case. She tries from the very beginning to get him to not do it, but then when he says that Olivia reminds him of Jen, she kind of gives in. And at that point, she gives him the gun that was used in the big heat. And she was like, I don't like guns. She's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is a special one. You take this one. In this episode, episode 6, before he's going to Starlink, Sugar thinks about taking that gun with him and decides not to. I don't know if there's something there.
Yeah, I think that there's just something about he seems to, whenever possible, not bringing the gun, warning people in advance, like, you don't want to do this. This is going to be bad for you. He says over and over again, he doesn't want violence. He doesn't like violence. He doesn't want to do that. It's almost like, I don't know, is he programmed on a mission to find someone? He's only going to revert to this, these abilities he has if it gets in the way of that mission, but he certainly doesn't want to go that path ever.
Yeah. No, but see, I'm wondering, it's like a trick gun somehow. Is
Yeah.
it like if he actually had taken the gun when he pulled the trigger, it would tranquilize him or something? I don't, just because of how it fits in, like that, he's more than capable with guns. When
Yes.
he dispatches Stallings and crew, Matrix style, practically,
Right.
So I don't know. I thought that was interesting, but yeah, that is the big. Something's going to have to tie these things together, and that will probably be in the season finale.
Yeah, I'm sure. I think seven will be a what in the world did we just figure out? What did we just learn here? What should we learn about what we were just shown? That there has to be something about that.
More information about the
Yes.
group and so on and so forth.
Yes.
I see you have in our notes that the title for episode 7, you have in our notes, The Friends You Keep. I don't know if they changed the title. I feel like I saw somewhere it was called The Cabal.
Yeah. At some point, I think they may have, and I built this our notes several days ago. But the title, at least as it exists on the IMDb page and on the Wikipedia page, is now officially The Friends You Keep.
Hmm. I mean, I may have just slipped in some insider information. I think they changed the title of the episode, guys. Because I was going to say I saw Cabal, and I was like, well, obviously we know what this episode's going to be about.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, so I expect that's where we're going. Another question that I had, and I don't know that we'll hit on a good answer to this, because maybe there isn't an answer beyond what we get there in that last scene. What does John Sugar get out of this?
Hmm. What is he getting out of this?
Out of the transformation?
Out of the transformation. Yeah, it takes some sort of physical and mental effort to stay a human that sort of is taxing on him to be out of his normal form. I don't know. I mean, it's
That's
just go home, take a break. I think of the quotes that they
yeah,
used to just sort of shed that skin, I mean, literally for a period of time and not have to wear it for a while. I mean, I guess if you're always trying to be two-faced about something, maybe it's just also a matter of I just don't have to pretend for a while.
yeah. I guess he has to inject himself with something to do it. Is there something to this phrase "go home" that should be read
Mm.
more literally? I guess is part of what I'm wondering. Or yeah, is it
Hmm.
just kind of metaphorical? Is this just like getting home after a long day at work in an uncomfortable suit and slipping into some sweatpants?
Yep.
He was
Which
also wearing sweats.
exactly. I'm glad you said that. So he's always wearing a suit, except in this scene where he has been worked on, and the thing he puts on when he's resting is, his sweats, right? Just like you would do when you get home.
Yeah, so maybe it's just that, but I mean, look, Melanie's in the other room, Ryan.
Yeah. Number one, she needs to pay more attention so he's not sneaking out to go see Ruby. Number two, just open one eye and you're going to see some things that are going to disturb you.
I mean, Leslie's just going to hang out in the bathroom all night.
Maybe he trusts her enough.
Maybe
Well,
he trusts her enough. And this is the other thing I was thinking about, and I don't know. I'll be curious if Melanie is about to find out
mhm.
about his true nature, whatever that is exactly, how she'll react to that. Because I did get thinking about how back towards the beginning, Melanie was like really impressed with how Sugar cared for her instead of taking advantage of her. Here's this man who did this. There are human beings in the world who are actually, oh wait,
Yep.
he's not a human being.
Yeah.
How does that, how does she respond to that? I'll be
And we
curious to
also
see.
know that there's also still some connection, communication that Melanie and Bernie are having, right? Some of it is argumentative, some of it looked more romantic at one point in one episode. So if she learns this information, what does she then do with that? Can she keep it in? I mean, how do you do that when you learn something like this?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm still not sure how to read that. Going back a few episodes where she meets up with Bernie, and it does kind of feel a little bit romantic, but we don't see what
Hmm.
happens at all after that. It definitely seems friendly, at least. After that, though, when she finds out the details of
Yep,
what Davy's been up to, I think she confronted Bernie at the theater about it. We only see it through the CCTV camera.
exactly. Yeah.
And they may be on the outs now.
Yeah.
She
And
may
so
have
maybe
been involved in leaking that information to the media. We never got an answer to that question.
we don't have an answer, but that's a likely possibility. Yeah. And maybe that with this type of thing, and if she does trust sugar that much, maybe it's something she can keep, but she's certainly going to want to find that out. And if it's possible, use what she knows to help find Livia if at all possible. So how can she use that against sugar? There's so many different ways this can go now.
Well, see, I think potentially, though, Sugar is going to reveal his true self to Melanie, and he still wants to find Olivia, and she wants to find Olivia,
Hmm.
and his the organization he's been a part of, they're now the bad guys.
Yeah. And
And
don't want to. Yeah.
I think from Sugar's point of view, I think he's himself come around to that. So you mentioned Charlie. What happened to Charlie? We don't know what happened to Charlie. There's a car and there's a hand knocking on the window, and that's all we see. Um, I went back and looked at the scene with Miller and Ruby meeting to ask the question, is that Miller's car? No,
Mm,
it's not.
it's not.
Definitely not. All I can tell you for sure is not Miller's car.
But we don't know or have any confirmation that it was, one of Stalin's people. Could have been anybody.
Right. But my inclination is to think it wasn't Miller's car. I still kind of think he's behind it.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
still Ruby tips Stallings off at the behest of Miller. And I'm just using him as shorthand for, I'm not imagining he's the king of the Kree or whatever, but um, well, however that works. But so
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
they did something to Charlie, right? You mentioned Ruby tells Sugar she doesn't know what happened to Charlie.
Yeah.
I'm not positive I believe her.
Nor am I.
It might be true. Maybe she doesn't know. Maybe she does know. Maybe Charlie's dead. Maybe Charlie's being held hostage. Whatever. The other thing though is Ruby. She tricks Sugar, or tries to, by acting like she has to go upstairs to get him aspirin. He apparently sees that there was aspirin in the drawer, and so he flees. So I
Yeah.
think he doesn't trust Ruby anymore either.
No. I think that Charlie may just end up being some sort of pawn or leverage to try to convince Sugar to stop looking for Olivia.
Could be.
He seems to care about Charlie a lot.
Yeah.
And so yeah, some way to help him or to push him towards stopping, which is what they wanted.
Yeah. Could be. But it definitely feels like the Polyglot Society or whatever.
Yeah,
They're the bad
exactly.
guys now.
Yeah.
Um,
Except Henry doesn't seem so bad, but I mean, we don't know anything about his backstory.
yeah, he seems like a nice chap. See,
Yeah.
I don't know that Henry's necessarily a bad guy. Miller is. Vickers probably is.
Yeah.
Ruby's also still in something of a middle territory. I think Ruby is conflicted about the whole thing.
Yes.
Um, the whole thing being something we don't know yet.
Yeah.
What is the whole thing?
Something they better tell us. That's all I have to say.
Maybe we'll find out next week. Um, what did you think of, just to hit on this, because I did think it was, I liked that it was there. What did you think of the stuff with Bernie and Margit, and then Bernie and Jonathan?
Yeah, this was I mean two very emotional scenes, certainly, in the midst of yeah, a show that has a lot of corners that we've explored, but not necessarily gone on a real emotional path. I mean, just the agony, first of all, of parents having to make that kind of decision, receive that news and make that decision, and then having it impact you enough to say you want to go to your most likely estranged father who could be on his deathbed to say, I feel so horrible about what I did. We need to resolve something between us. You know, we still, I think don't know exactly how this family is tied into, if at all, what happened to Olivia as well. And so there's questions there that are outstanding. But sort of just the connection that Bernie and Jonathan seem to make is was powerful, not one that I was expecting.
Yeah, agreed. Um, and I like that the show was telling us this stuff still matters.
Yeah.
This hasn't been a waste of time. This still matters. Maybe it only, maybe it matters for its own sake. It doesn't have to
Yeah.
tie into the alien stuff. Um, Along those lines, I want to remind people and myself that there is still also a mystery about what's up with those Polaroids, all of that,
Yep.
right? What's up with those Polaroids? Bernie didn't
And
take those Polaroids. What
there's
happened to
also
Rachel K?
there's also still Chekhov's hair from the trunk that we haven't returned to.
Yeah, and the missing
Missing body.
corpse of Clifford.
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 Yeah.
Clifford is his name. Clifford. Um, to what extent is there a difference between what we're seeing in reality? I'm going to tie in the scene with the dogs. Not not when he calms the dogs, which cool. I guess that's there also. But the padlocked door, which our
Yeah.
attention has been called to before, when Sugar arrives at Stallings' place, he's about to pick that lock. He doesn't because I guess he starts realizing that people are there, or whatever, however that works. I guess the lock gets shot off the door in the gunfight. I guess that's
Yeah,
how it
must
works.
have.
Suddenly it's open. It's kind of dangling. I had kind of expected this to be where human trafficking victims were, but no, apparently not. He
Felt the
goes
same way.
through and there's like hallway and stuff. I also kind of thought it was going to be a basement. Yeah, not a basement. But then there's dogs in cages. Most of the dogs are barking. There's one dog that's very calm and mellow, and he releases that one dog.
I got nothing for you on this one.
Okay. So I'll
I,
just continue because
what's the
the other thing
symbolism
is
here?
the way they shot that scene
Yeah.
was in ways to indicate something about Sugar's disorientation or something like that. You can certainly read it that way. It was kind of
Oh,
shaky.
yes. Okay.
Um, and it made me think about again going all the way back to I think it was the end of episode one where he hallucinated that he was bleeding and he got in the shower and
Mm.
like what we saw didn't match reality and we snapped to reality later.
Yep.
Something about this scene with the dogs in the cages just gave me a vibe that you know made me feel like something's going on here.
So maybe there were things or people or something in cages and he couldn't see it or couldn't or wasn't seeing it clearly because of what had happened to him in terms of the violence and the injury, or just he just hallucinating the whole thing.
Yeah, I mean that would be the extreme of it. Is if
Yeah.
they weren't actually dogs in the cages, they were teenage girls or something. I don't
I
know.
mean, that's kind of where my brain went, was he can't focus. He can't his whatever the things that happens to him when he's injured that we saw back in episode one, it's happening to him here. He's not seeing reality. He's seeing something that, he just saw the dogs outside. He's seeing dogs here. Are there actually people locked up in there? And he's, approached one of them and let him out. I mean, what can we rule out, out at this point of the show, after what we saw?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really think that's the case,
Yeah.
but it occurred to me just enough. I felt like I had to mention it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
It may be something that we return to, particularly as we try to, yeah, I felt the same as you. Oh, he's found the corridor or the underground railroad or whatever it is that's gonna, where these women are get shuttled off to. But that doesn't seem to be the case.
yeah, and instead it's a bunch of dogs. All right. Okay, so no, a number of things to think about.
Lot
Anything
to
else you
do.
want to hit on before we wrap this one up?
I think that's it. And there was, yeah, quite a lot in this episode, and yeah, a lot to do the next two.
Indeed. So we'll be back next week talking about episode 7, whatever the title is. Um, so hopefully you'll join us again then. In the meantime, check out tvobsessive.com. You can find my weekly article recaps on sugar there, along with all sorts of other articles on television. If you like to read things, which I hope you do. If you enjoyed the podcast, please do leave us a good rating, review, thumbs up, like, whatever. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on social media. TV Obsessive. I haven't rattled off the list in a while, so I'll mention we're on X,
Yes, we're on
formerly known
everything.
as Twitter.
You'll
We're
find us
on
there. Yeah.
we're on Facebook, Blue Sky, Instagram, Threads, Mastodon. I guess I think the articles post there, but I never really use the Mastodon
As
for
soon
the
as I
most part.
log on to that one, I'll let you know.
Yeah, I don't know. For the most part, if you want to follow us on social media, mostly what you'll get are like links to articles showing up in your social media feed if that's something you're interested in. You can also subscribe to get articles from the site by email if you're on the website and so on. Anyhow, thanks as always for listening. We'll be back next week talking about sugar, episode 7.
All right. See you then.